We want to make sure that everyone is aware that the KReady system is dynamic. Those things that you might see today are current as of today. So let's dive into this with some reminders. Last year, the assessment tag was introduced. That is continuing this year. Again, data managers will need to make sure that they check the box on the assessment tag in the KReady account. Now, this is important. This is a one-time designation for those users, and it's required in order to be able to view and access the green professional development resource button that appears in the KReady dashboard. So without checking that box, your users, your teachers will not be able to access the professional development. So again, this is a reminder to make sure that that box is checked. Likewise, the KRA certification training is a requirement. Now, this is a requirement for licensed school employees and teachers that will be administering the KRA this fall. Likewise, only kindergarten teachers that have not been trained in the KRA or the KRAR should complete this initial training. So if you've done this already, or if your teachers have done this, they don't need to do this again. A user account in the KReady system and an assessment tag, both of those are required in order to access the training. So again, data managers will need to create users. Data managers will need to make sure that they click and they check that assessment tag in order that their teachers would have access to the training. Okay, so that's just a reminder for folks, especially if you've been in the system before. We want to remind everyone that this is the same process as it was last year. As you know, the window opened July 1. This will close, the data collection window will close on November 1st, so at 11:59 p.m. So all teachers will need to have their scores submitted by that time, and then we'll take till the 10th for data managers to clean up the data. As it relates to supports, we want to make sure that you know where you can get answers to your questions. If you have questions specific to policy and guideline information, you will go to the Department of Children and Youth website, and we've provided the link there. If you've downloaded the slides or the slide notes, all of these links in here are active. So if you click on those links, it will take you directly to those locations. But here on the DCY site, you're going to get the background and context information that you need to have an understanding about the assessment, the roles and specific resources that are provided depending upon what your role is in the assessment, whether you're a teacher or whether you are a data manager, and then implementation materials and supports. And again, DCY will provide additional communications through their various channels regarding these materials and associated supports. As it relates to the help desk, Ohio K-12 help location is where you want to go to get technical assistance. We provide, again, as an example today, data manager training, as well as other support resources, how-to videos. We also have a team of people that are available to answer your questions if you reach out via phone or if you go to the website and submit a support case, a support ticket. Someone from our team will respond and communicate with you to try to get the answer to your question. Again, so we want to make sure that you know where to go if you have questions. Policy and guideline information, you're going to head to DCY. If you need technical assistance, you're going to come to Ohio K-12 Help. So now we're going to talk a little bit about your role as a data manager. It's really important that you understand specifically what it is you do as a data manager or what it is you need to do in the administration of this assessment. Right here, you see a list of things that are expected of you as a data manager. Again, you're going to create those accounts, whether it be for teachers or administrators. You're chiefly responsible for adding those folks to the system, as well as adding student and enrollment data to the system. Without that, the teachers don't have access in order to submit scores. So it's very important that you understand that it's your role, not the teacher's role, to add those data to the system. Likewise, you will monitor and update the data as changes occur, whether it be with personnel or minor changes that need to happen with regards to student enrollment. So you're responsible for that as the data manager. Likewise, you're responsible to address any kind of transfers that will occur in the system. It's your responsibility to kind of monitor those transfers and either accept approve or decline those transfers. And then likewise, and finally, you'll need to be able to access reports and provide those reports to the various entities, whether it be administration there locally or elsewise. If you are not currently a data manager in the system and you need to get access to become a data manager, you'll need to have someone in administration in your location to provide you with access via the Ohio Education Directory System. So they'll need to go into OEDS and add you as an assessment data manager. And once you have access as a data manager, then we will receive that information and can add you to the system if you haven't already been added. There are three key ways to add information to the KReady system. The first is manually. You're going to enter the data directly into the system, and it's usually one or a few students at a time. So the manual approach is not something that you would do for, let's say, if you have 30 or 40 students that you're trying to enter, that would be quite tedious. So it's only recommended if you're doing it for one or a few students. The bulk loader, however, is recommended if you have many students to add. So you do that via templates. You do that by uploading these to the system. There is also a third way, which is an automated process. And this process is via a secure file transfer protocol, whereas folders are set up and once changes are made to those folders, the data is uploaded. The data guidelines is a document that's going to show you what the templates are. There are required CSV templates that must be used in order to add the data. You cannot create your own Excel file or your own CSV. You must use the templates that are provided in the system, and you'll find those templates in the KReady system. So once you download those templates and fill them out completely, then they're ready to be uploaded to the KReady system. Again, these are required for administration, and it is required that you load teacher, student, and enrollment data in order for all of this to work. The fields that are required depend upon what it is you're trying to do in the system. So there are two types of loads. There is a system requirement load, which means in order for the system, the KReady system, to use your data, there are certain fields that have to be completed. And then there are state reporting requirements. So those are fields that must be completed in order for you to report the data to the state. With regards to uploading and formatting, we want to make sure that you follow these steps here, that you do not remove any of the headers. You do not remove or change any of the headers. If you do, the file will not load correctly. You must format with leading zeros, both in the district ID, the school ID, any place where we use IRNs, where there's a leading zero, you must format for leading zero. We have resources on our site that will walk you through the steps of how to do that. Likewise, the date of birth must be formatted as you see here on the screen with 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, and 4 digits for the year of the date of birth. And then each field should be separated with commas. And so this is a CSV, a comma separated value form that is being uploaded. And so if you convert this to text for some reason, all the fields must be separated via commas. See the data guidelines for more information. It will walk you through what is required in each field and what information you need to submit in order to upload this correctly to the system and for reporting.
We are going to start with loading data. The first one we're going to go to is adding users. Now, we have these written out, the step-by-steps for you, and I'm going to go through this live. So I do encourage you, if you want, you can follow me in your KReady as well. We're going to go through each step together. Let's go to the KReady system live. And we'll start first with adding the user. So once you log into the KReady system and you're adding a new user, you have a new teacher that started, select your users, go to add user. And here you're going to put in their information. So their first name, their last name, their email address, and you are going to add them to a specific location at your district. Your password, you're going to use the recommended recommendations when it comes to a password. So as long as you are within that parameter, you can do that. You don't have to share the password with the user either. The user will get an email stating they have a new account. So they will be able, you don't have to share that password you created. Choose their role, select save and open. Once they're open, what you're going to see is the information, their first name, their last name, the status, the role they have. And as we were talking earlier, we set assessment tag. So in this user, you can check to make sure that that user is attached. As of right now, no assessment tag is attached. You toggle that on, but you also have to check mark the box that says KRA. Then hit save. Now, once that's done, you will see that the actual assessment tag is attached. After that, you want to make sure that your user is now attached to the district as well. So right next to details, go to organizations, select the drop-down arrow next to administrative levels, go to districts. And here you see at this time, remember you added them just to a location. So you want to make sure you add them to the district. Select add next to the appropriate district. And here's the teacher district ID. This will be that teacher credential ID, that educator ID. So it's going to be 2 letters and 7 digits. Once that's entered, hit save. And now you will see the teacher is attached to that district. Now you did add them to a location when you first created their account, but let's make sure they're added. And if you need to add them to any additional locations, maybe they go around to the different locations within your district. Make sure you add them there. At this point, that teacher, that user will be able to click on the Access Professional Development. Now, next we will go through adding students. Now we're going to do this manually. And again, you can follow along with me. We're going to go through each of these steps. And the very important thing in red that you do see here is the data collection token. There are 2 versions this year. There's the short version, which is the 27 item, which has a specific data collection token. That's short 25 KRAR2. The long version, the 50 items, that data collection token will be full 25 KRAR. So let's go back to live and we're going to add a student manually. Go to your students on your left-hand side, select add student. You will fill in their state student ID, which is going to be 2 letters and 7 digits. Their first name. You can put in a middle name if you choose. If not, you don't have to. Their date of birth. Fill in the gender. You can fill in the race. And if the student has a disability code. If they don't, you won't be putting anything in there. But if they do, you will want to make sure that the IEP, IFCSP is toggled on. If that's on, that has to have a disability code. So you want to then add them to first the region, then your district, and then your location. You can also, if the student is an English language learner, or the low socioeconomic status. Once that's done, select Save and Open. And now this gives you the error. So since I had that marked, that disability code had to be in there. So that is a good safe. So at this point, we're just going to go and add the student like that. You can always go back if you needed to. But the Details tab, everything's going to be listed there. But just since you add the student, we got 2 more steps we want to do. We want to add them to a teacher. Select the Enrollments tab. And here you're going to be able to assign teacher for that specific location. Look for their name. And we see the teacher, select Assign. And you now see the student is attached to that teacher. We got one more step. We want to make sure that just because you add them to the teacher doesn't mean they're automatically going to see them. They have to be assigned the data collection token in order to get the assessment attached. So right underneath the location, that box, you see the word location and it's blue and underlined. So select that. And you can see we popped up on that left side to organizations and we kind of drilled down that way. But now you see that data collection assignment tab. That is where you'll collect assign data collection. Make sure you are attaching them. Very, very important. Attach them to the correct one you are doing. And it's for all districts, not a specific school. So for instance, if your school has multiple buildings, it's going to be the same for all of your buildings. Select assign and then finished. And at this point, you will see, you can go back to your enrollments. You can see your teachers attached there, and you have the point of authority for that student. Next is the bulk loader. Now, the bulk loader, as stated earlier, we do have certain templates. It is CSV. First, downloading your files from your student information system. You're going to update your teachers manually if needed, and this would be more of if a teacher changed their name or if an email address changes. You want to do that manually first before you do a teacher file upload. Because if you do another one that creates then another account, you want to update it manually first. And then formatting those files using for leading zeros. Note the data collection token. Very, very important that you are connecting them to the correct one for your district. Select bulk loader on the left-hand side. At this point, you see 3 tabs. You see your uploads, which anything that you've already previously uploaded. If you haven't uploaded anything this year, it's going to be blank. Automated. Now this is for people who are using the SFTP, and that's more for the larger districts. We will get into doing that later here in a minute, but that would show that, any automated files. And then templates. This is where you will find all your needed templates. Your teacher file, your student file, your enrollment files. Select a template, select that drop-down. We want to stress, though, that your files, that your main ones you're going to be concentrating on is going to be your students, your teachers, your enrollments. Your student file or your teacher file, either one of those can be done first, as long as your last file that you upload is in your enrollment file. So student file, and we do recommend that you use an all fields template, and that's going to have all of the information, the gender, the IEP, the disability code. So you would then download that template. Once that downloads, open that up for students, and this is going to be an all fields template. Now, the student information, the very first couple columns that you want to fill in is going to be columns A through J. Now, your district ID is going to be your main district IRN. And then you have your state student ID for each of your students, your school ID, which is going to be specific building IRN. Then the student's first name, middle name, if you want to add that, or if they don't have it, you can leave that blank. Student last name, date of birth, the race, the gender, and then columns K through V, nothing gets entered into those columns, so leave those blank. But the last 4 you want to do is going to be W, X, Y, and Z, and that is going to be for the IEP, the disability code, the low socioeconomic status, and then the English language learner. Now, once this is all filled in with your information, you can see that you're gonna need to format these columns, and specifically for the leading zero. Most IRNs start with 0, 1, or 0, whatever, then the next digit. So I'm gonna put that in at this moment, but you see that 0 goes away. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna format these so that leading 0 stays. So if you highlight your column, right click, go down to Format Cells, select Custom. Now, I normally always just type this in because I find this is the easiest. So rate normally, general is highlighted, select that first 0, and then I put my cursor right back up underneath type, and I type in an additional 5 zeros. So there's a total of 6. And so at this point, hit OK. And so if I were to type in one that started with a 0, now that 0 is going to stay. You're going to do the same thing for column D. Right click, go down to Format Cells, select Custom, select that first 0, and then type in your additional zeros and hit OK. Now your date of birth, as stated earlier, is you want to have 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, and 4 digits for the year. So highlight the column and go down to Right or Format Cells. Go to Custom. Now, again, I do this because I feel it's the easiest just to kind of go through and just hit that 0 again. It's more of that repetition. I then delete that 0 and I type in my /DD /YYYY and hit OK. And now you see it's now 09. It's 01 for the day. So that column is now formatted correctly. The last one you do is going to be the disability code. So for instance, actually earlier I had it as just a 9 and I did that earlier. So, but you want to, same thing. So you wanted to have that 09. Highlight that column and go down to Format Cells and select your custom again. And then you just add that additional 0 and hit OK. So that way, that one 0 will stay. Now you save that somewhere you can easily find it in your desktop. And what I end up doing is minimize it because the CSV will lose its formatting as soon as you close it and reopen it. So you'd have to format again. I find it's easiest, just minimize it. Go to Upload File, select your template type. We're doing a student, and select your file where you saved it. So I'm going to go ahead and find my student there and hit upload. Now, if you go back to that Uploads tab, you're going to see now you have your student file and it's in queued status. It does take some time. It can take some time be in queued status. And give it some time. So while that's still going, you want to go then back to your templates and select your last one, because I did already do the teacher one earlier, so I can see that in my uploads, and that did come back complete. So let's show the enrollment one. Select your enrollments and in all fields. And this is in all fields. So the data collection token. Again, make sure you are putting in what is specific for your district. So for the short form, SHORT 25 KRAR and the number 2. That would be the same for all of my students because my entire district is doing the same. Now you can see when you fill, it actually added that number. So you want to make sure, select copy and not fill series, so that number does not change. That is a common thing that we do see here at the help desk, that make sure it's copying and not filling in. Format your column for your district IRN. Format your column for your school ID. And then the last one for the enrollment file is the date of birth column, and make sure that is done correctly as well. Custom, select that first 0, /DD /YYYY, and hit OK. Then at this point, you want to save, and again, minimize it. Go back to your uploads, and you now see your student file went through. You have 3 additions, and you have 0 updates because you didn't have any updates. So this enrollment file is ultimately the combination of your teacher and student file. But the thing is, it ties the student to now the teacher and to the data collection, to the assessment. That is needed in order for your teachers to see their users in their accounts as soon as they log in. Select your template type. You're going to select enrollments. Now you do see that underneath enrollments, the unenrolled students by is unchecked marked by default. If you selected this means that you want to unenroll students by student. And let's say this would be a good option if you're doing a partial upload, let's say, and you have 5 students you're loading, and you want to make sure their enrollments are clean and not attached to any other teacher. You can do that. You can do by district. Now, by district is more for larger districts. A lot of, large urbans or larger districts in general. And what it will do will wipe out basically any previous enrollment. So if this student moved around maybe to a couple different buildings within your district, and you just want to make sure that they're just attached right this time to this one district or one building, you can do that. But we're not doing any of that. We're just going to enrollment as normal. We're going to select enrollments. We're going to find our file, and we will upload that file. And at this point, it will be in queued status for a little bit. Next, the secure file transfer protocol, data automation. So this is integrated with your student information system and used more with larger districts that have a lot more students or however they want to do it. These are the steps, and we're going to follow through these. I'm only going to follow to a point because I can only go so far, because number 6 and 7 are going to be more on your end. That's what you do on that back end there. But I can show you the KReady system on how to do this. Select organizations. Select view districts. And then select view locations. Now you're going to see is you have that integration button up here. If you select that, you at this time is no integration. If you wanted to, your district, this is a discussion we do recommend maybe reaching out to your technology coordinators, discussing this first. Select FTP. These bottom 2, the server address and the port, will stay gray. You don't have to do anything else, and you would hit save. As I discussed, the specific file transfer, separate files, this is on your end, and you would have to enable. We recommend reaching out to your technology coordinators. This is an option you wanted to utilize. Going back to that bulk loader, I wanted to kind of point this out. There's an error. So in order to see what your errors are, you do see you have 2 students that were added, but you know you had 3 on that file, and you see an error. So download those validation errors and open that file. So the error is user is not eligible to be assigned students in this location. And that means that that teacher was never added to that specific location. So to fix that, you want to go back to the KReady system, and you're looking for that specific teacher. Find them in your users and then select open next to their name. Go to organizations. Select the drop-down arrow. Make sure they're attached to the district. Make sure they're attached to the location and add them there. Okay, so that error message is something that will tell you exactly what happened with that teacher, with that student, as why they weren't attached. The first one is the KRA percentage completion report. And this is going to be an Excel file, and it will show the percentage of students who have actually completed it, not just did a couple of them, but completed the KRA. And this is used more to monitor that progress for maybe a specific teacher, maybe for a specific location, or your entire district, however you choose to utilize. This is available both during and after. The KRA completion by item report. Now this will show a teacher, basically it's an X. If a teacher entered a rating for a student, an X shows for that specific item. So that means they entered that score. So this is used to monitor completion of specific items for specific students or all of them. This is available both during and after. And then lastly is the language and literacy report. And this will show all students' language and literacy domain scale scores. And this can be used for reporting on track or not on track status for reading diagnostic. This is available both during and after. Let's go on that left-hand side in your KReady system and select reports. Select the drop-down arrow next to create a report. We're going to actually generate the language and literacy. You're going to choose your data collection that you are using for your district. Select your district and select your location. Now, requesting the location report, this is going to be for all of the buildings for that district. If you are doing the one underneath there where it says request teacher report, that's going to give you a specific building for all of those teachers for that building. So either however one you want to choose, request that report, and it's going to be in processing status. If there are no domain scores for one, many teacher or many students, whichever the case may be, that just means that no scores have been entered by that teacher yet. So you'd want to reach out to that teacher to make sure they get those scores entered. And this can take some time. You can refresh your screen. However, reports can take up to 4 hours to generate. Once that's done, you would select download and open that report up. Once you open that report, this is now yours. You can save this locally on your desktop, whatever you may want to do. And you can generate this many times. You can generate this on a weekly basis, however you prefer. The next set of reports is the KRA student and enrollment report. Now, this will be an Excel file showing the student and enrollment demographic and teacher assignment. This is good if you're wanting to look through your list of all of your students and maybe you're a large urban and you want to see who has which students, how many teachers are attached to, or how many students are attached to this teacher. This just gives you more of an understanding who's attached to who. And then this is used to verify, like I say, student and teacher connections, available both during and after the window. You can generate this multiple times as well. The data downloads report is going to be it will show your teachers, your student, and enrollment data that's been entered into the system. And this is also used to confirm and kind of check to see what has been loaded. Has all those teachers been loaded? And it's available both during and after. And then lastly, here is the KRA domain domain report. And this is with student scores for each item and total points calculated for each domain. And this is used to confirm the scores that are entered for each of those domains. And you can do this both during and after. Back to the KReady system, and you can generate any of those reports during the window. So KRA domain data report. This one's a great report, I feel, because it's going to separate each of your domains out. So select your data collection, and you can show your student was marked with an English language learner, or if they were marked with yes, having an IEP. Select your district, select your location, or if you just want to do the district and look at that as a whole. Again, you'll be able to see more information for what has been entered thus far by your teachers for those specific items. Downloading that report, take a quick example here. Just want to show you real fast, is it's separated by domain. So you see the first tab is mathematics, language and literacy, and you got your social foundation. So I think this is extremely helpful just to kind of do more of a breakdown so you can see. These three reports are the KRA scaled score report, and this is the final one that's going to show all student data, teacher, their overall domain scores, and this is the one is used to submit to EMIS. And this is only available after the data or after the window closes and after the data manager cleanup window ends, which that data manager cleanup window is November 10th at 11:59. The next one is the KRA ISR report, and now this will be an Excel file with a PDF link that you can then click on to download that PDF version of the student's individual student report. And that's more designed to be shared with families. This one, again, is only after the window closes, after the data manager cleanup window. Lastly is the data displays, and this is more of in the KReady system, has the interactive charts and graphs that is a different way of viewing the data that has been entered. And this, again, is available after the window closes.
Having difficulty with the disability code when the IEP is toggled, adding a new student.
There is a workaround if it's not working at the moment. I know, again, this is an evolving system, is always getting updated, improved, anything like that. But if you can't toggle it on when you're just adding the new student through the Add Student Manually button, you can always leave it off. And then once that student is entered, you can always go back to that student and open them up and then do it manually. Or you can do a student file upload and it will attach it that way. So you've got a couple workarounds that you could do. Can you explain data manager cleanup? I do want to just state that that after that window closes, so November 1st at 11:59 p.m., so from November 2nd to November 10th, that is your time to make sure that you're attaching or your transfers are all cleared up. You've accepted or declined or anything like that with your students for your transfers. So that way you have the point of authority. So when you can generate the KRA scaled score report, that student will show on there. This is also if maybe you didn't attach the disability codes or didn't add everything. You might want to go ahead and go through and just do a all field student file upload. It's just a cleanup process, making sure you've got all your I's dotted, your T's crossed, and your transfers are all good. So when you generate that report, those students will be on there. How do I check my access in the KReady system to see what rights they have? He didn't have all the options as what I had as a data manager. You may only have administrative. You're administrator, and that means that a lot of times data managers will add the principals at each locations as administrators. So those administrators can generate reports specific to that location. And not everybody needs to have the data loading ability because you want maybe they're just like I said, a principal generating reports. So it depends on what access you've been given there. But if you have administrative access and not data manager, you will only see a smaller portion on that left-hand side. Don't have access to Excel, but only Google Sheets. Google Sheets, you are able to save it as a CSV, and you can still use that. Google Sheets does allow you to save it as a CSV. Added the principals as users and select administrator, and they can't adjust it and like to know if they gave them the wrong access. We can go through each of those administrators if you have multiple and look through each of those together. So if all users should be added firstly as a teacher. Everybody should be added as that role of a teacher and then given that administrator access. Remove that from them manually for your users as well, or remove them completely from your district.
Where do I see if a transfer is being requested?
All right, so your transfers are going to be located on that left-hand side, and you'll see three tabs. You're going to see your request from others. So this is anybody from outside of your district that is requesting a transfer. Internal transfers from one location to another is not going to show in your transfers, so just be mindful of that. But your first tab will show any requests from others. Middle one is going to be any of your requests. So if somebody added the student which this can happen, they added the SSID before maybe the student confirmed going to your district. So that means that student's SSID has already been entered into the system, which will trigger a transfer request, and that new district or that previous district will need to accept. You would see those listed there, and then you would see your transfer history for all of this specific school year listed. And it'll have whether it was accepted or declined or what the status of that student specifically is. Do we need to load a teacher template each year, even if there are no staff changes? It's very helpful just to do one file upload, reattach them, make sure they're attached to your district and to the specific locations. You only need to do it once, but if you can confirm that, you don't necessarily have to. Transfer process. If a student's SSID is entered into the KReady system before you enter it at your organization, it's going to automatically trigger a transfer request. And that goes to whoever loaded that student first for the school year with that same SSID. And it's very important to double check those SSIDs, make sure you're not a digit off. Can you manually tag teachers to students without using the enrollment bulk loader? And yes, that's what we walked through when you're adding a student manually and you are attaching the teacher to that enrollments from that enrollments tag. But make sure not only attaching the teacher, but that data collection token so it shows up at the teacher's roster.